And this is great. Alright, guys, it's me again. Oh, man. Oh, boy. You gotta hear this one. Uh, from water to woods. Yeah, why does this state gotta be so freaking dangerous? For my health? Uh, this myth, or urban legend, or this creature, is called the Windigo. Yeah, in Minnesota, I know. Some say this thing was a person at one time. He or she feasted on someone's flesh and turned into this beast. It's known to a lot of Native American tribes, of course. They say they prowl the forest of northern Minnesota. It's said that it is so thin you cannot see it from the side, but head on it's said to be 15 feet tall. From what I've read over the years, guys, the older these things are, the stronger they get. At one point, I do believe there was a Wendigo that could change the weather in one area on its own. Yeah, magical powers. The people are different, yet some stories say it always the same. Some say it's a deer skull from a head with horns and an open rib cage. I'm gonna go no more further than that in that horror story because that's a horror story. This thing's disgusting looking. I kid you not. Now this Wendigo that we were gonna spoiler alert, we went up on one. Spoiler alert. Luckily it was a young one and it wasn't fully developed into a Wendigo. The way that everyone knows them to be. Now, me and Sarah and Jim were staying at Sarah's sister's place, Lauren's place. We got up one morning and, like I said, I was doing recording about the first creature, the lake monster. I don't want to talk about that thing no more. I got hurt twice. This time, it was about the forest. We were going to go, I guess you could say, hunting, in a way. There have been a couple bodies missing past couple of months in the forest. And a couple of people went in the forest and never came out. Including a little girl that was our employer's daughter. He wanted us to go find his daughter and whatever did this to her, whatever kidnapped her or grabbed her or whatever. He wanted to know. Because when they found his first daughter, his eldest daughter, who was in the forest, she was nearly frozen, nearly dead. She was hurt, she was cut up, she was banged up, she was starving. They had gotten lost in the woods. She had her younger sister with her going camping with a group of her friends. None of them made it out. They sent in search party after search party. This was months ago, before we got here. And he wanted us to find his youngest. And if this indigo existed, he wanted proof that this Wendigo existed. And he wanted to see his daughter, if it was all process of retrieving her. So we set out with our cameras and our equipment. And a hired mercenary that our employer hired. See, we were to find the evidence. He was to retrieve his daughter and, if at all possible, kill the creature. Now, like I just told you guys, these things cannot be seen from the side because they're so skinny. But from front, these things are 15 foot tall. Nasty looking creatures. Nasty. So we set about this in one way. We told him we would gather the evidence. You just keep us from being killed from this thing, if it existed. He looked at us and was like, I'm doing what I get paid for. It's fine with us. His name was Mark. That's all I got to say. We met up with him. We set up camp deep into the forest. I mean, really deep into the forest. I wanted to set up camp that close to the exit, but he wasn't having it. We weren't about to argue with it. Jim, on the other hand, was about to argue with his fists. But I said, Jim, dude, chill. There's no reason for this. We're not gonna fight this guy. Sarah helped me get Jim to his senses. And, well, we set off. We set up camp. We set up our cameras and everything. Some reports say this thing was seen by a cave entrance further into the forest. Not a little bit further than what we were. Not too much further. Further than that. Sorry guys, I'm a little bit tired. We walked in there and it got dark real quick in that forest. It wasn't even 7 o'clock. It was about 3. It got dark real quick. We couldn't see the sunlight up through the trees the further we went. Further we went, we set up cameras closer to the cave. We set up cameras at the cave's entrance and somewhere in the cave. We didn't find nothing, not bone. We found maybe a couple bones of animals. One of it was human bone, though. We had to have it analyzed, though, so me and Jim packed it up. But he went further down there, checked everything out, made sure everything was kosher. And then he walked out and he said the cave was clear. So after we set up our cameras, we walked a little bit further in. And when it got a little bit darker, we started heading back to the camp. Now, our mercenary guy we heard some noises. He heard it. He was a bit closer to where he thought it was, and he thought it was a little girl's voice. He said, "Okay, I'm gonna go this way," and he pointed at me. He said, "Follow me." I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, follow me." I need backup. I said, "I don't have a gun." Jim handed me his pistol in his pocket, out of his back, out of his holster. Handed it to me. He said, "Bring it back." I said, "Fine." So we went there, where he thought he heard the noise. And we started to hear, like, crunching of branches and stuff like that. Crack, 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 crack. We saw nothing. And he turned around and I heard gunshots. I was a bit further ahead than he was. Turned around just in time to see the creature rip his head off and start eating him. He started ripping his skin off his body as he ate him. His intestines started pouring out. I was in shock. Luckily I had a camera on my shoulder, and Jim and Sarah saw this thing. It looked at me, dropped the carcass, what was left, and came at me. I ran as fast as I could, but the thing was still behind me. It reached for me just as it reached for me. It bent down to grab me. I shot one off in its eye. It screamed like nobody's, like it was in so much pain. I didn't stand there to shoot again. I pulled off my... I was gonna regret this. I pulled out my kukri off my side, and I whacked it one good time in the shin. As hard as I could, it stuck. I ripped it out. It tried to swipe at me, knock me against a tree. I was gasping for air because the impact hurt like hell. It took one look at me, and then I looked over, and the shotgun that the man left, that he dropped, I picked it up and waited for the thing to bend down. I shoved the shotgun in its mouth and its open chest and fired 5 rounds into its chest. It collapsed right in front of me. Now, if it was dead, I didn't care. I shoved it off me. I was covered in blood, none of it mine. There was something hanging around this thing's neck. I ripped it off, looked at it. It looked familiar. I ran back to camp. And I don't know what happened from then. I blacked out. I just blacked out. I woke up in the hospital with our client next to us, and he was crying. The necklace was of his daughter's necklace. It was hers. Now, if that was his daughter, or someone else, I don't know. The horror that I saw, I don't want to imagine that again. God, that was so freaking... Wow. It's like staring death in the eyes. It's like your worst nightmare. And when you guys, we gotta move on. We gotta go on to the next one, right? Well, on to the next one, hopefully the last one in this state. Yeah. First, a river monster. And a Windigo. What's next? I guess we'll have to check it out.